Hi there and welcome to Lorena's Labyrinth. My name's Anna Pirelli. The comments that you see here are my views, beliefs, opinions, and sometimes they are not even my fully formed views, beliefs, and opinions. However, they are my understandings. Please do retain an open mind and reflect on any of the content and your comfort levels. If your views differ, please feel free to leave a comment. Also remember, it is possible to disagree in respectful ways. My way is not necessarily your way and vice versa. You might also find that some of the content on this playlist in regard to spiritual or universal laws, it resonates with you, meaning it feels right to you, while other laws may not feel right or they may not feel comfortable. If this is the case, the information is either not right for you or it is not right for you right now, and it might never be right for you at any given time. It really doesn't matter. As an earthy and practical person, I can put my hand up with all honesty and say that I have at different times had the same feelings about some of the content in here. And with some of them, I still have a level of skepticism within my viewpoints, but I choose to retain an open mind about the things that I don't fully understand for a few reasons. Firstly, because I believe it would be supreme arrogance to think that we all know all of the answers while we have a body. And because what is right for one of us is not necessarily right or suitable for all of us, and I choose to respect the differences. Please do leave your opinions, beliefs. Feel free to argue the points in a respectful way with any of the content on the slides and even my interpretations. And if you feel that you can add clarity around some of the content, we would all love to see it. Thank you. For now, though, let's explore the laws.
All creation is governed by law. The principles that operate in the outer universe, discoverable by scientists, are called natural laws. But there are subtler laws that rule the hidden spiritual planes and the inner realm of consciousness. Contained within these laws, or conditions, is the true nature of matter. Knowledge of these laws has an effect upon the mental urges. Mind is the builder. Stay in full mindfulness of the application of universal law as related to self and to others, and know that in love all life is given, in love all things move. In giving one attains, in giving one acquires. In giving, love becomes the fulfillment of desire, guided and directed in the ways that bring the more perfect knowledge of self as related to the universal, all-powerful, all-guiding, all divine influence in life. Love is life. When we go back, merge with the God source, in some infinitesimal but profound way, we expand the mind of God. Our higher self always points the best and most perfect way, and it is ours to listen and choose or reject what we hear. It does not blame, but patiently tries again to show the perfect way, the loving way. All of creation pushes forth. We are ever becoming. Identity ever remains.
Universal Law number 31. The law of free will, also known as the law of choice. We in third dimension have the right to expand or contract, to bring our creative and expressive energies out into the world in positive or negative ways. This is our ultimate decision. Not all of existence lives with this law, as it carries with it both the possibility of great soul growth and the ability to lose soul growth and create evil or negativity. No matter what our circumstances, we have the power to choose our direction. We also choose to be under the influence of others or choose to be an example for others. We do it with 100 actions which lead to the circumstances we find ourselves in today. Thoughts are things, and the mind is the builder. The free will we use to create behaves with our ability to love profoundly, and therefore this path reflects the duration of the time spent in attempt to merge with the great soul of all creation. The Christ warned of that which could destroy the soul, not spirit. So there is always a possibility that a soul entity on its journey could become a God-hater with diminished light and be absorbed back into the Spirit of God to become just spirit and no longer a soul with separate awareness. A goal of our higher selves is to voluntarily and willingly surrender our egos to be a perfected spirit, handing up the soul over code of manifestation regardless of how many lifetimes it takes.
So this is a beautiful law and a reminder for us to be visiting on New Year's Eve. I love this law. It refers to us all having the right to live either positively or negatively, and that this is our decision, our choice. We can choose to expand the amount of love we have in our aura, or we can choose to shut it down. It's up to us. I also interpret that within this law in the paragraph that we can choose to change our direction at any given time. For instance, if we've been living focused on self and selfish ends, or consumed by materialistic concerns, we can turn this around and become more compassionate to others and more caring anytime we want to. Equally, if we've been living in very expansive ways, giving more of ourselves and less to ourselves, caring more for others, we can shut that down and at least retract and balance our energies, become a little more insular or self-focused. Now, I can relate to both of these because I've always struggled a little bit with balancing my energies, and I've noticed that I can be very cyclical in my behaviours. Often it's a case of all or nothing at all. And I speak obviously from an earthly perspective within my actions and behaviours. Now, the law of free will also speaks about our choices and whether actually, let me rephrase. It speaks about our choices in regard to whether or not we will allow others to influence us, whether we'll follow their lead, or whether or not we choose to be an influencer ourselves. And we make these decisions through our thoughts and beliefs. I mean, within this, we can also turn around, I believe, and say, you can have those people that are insular, that neither lead nor follow. They're their own independent person. They can be a little bit more isolated or whatever. You can have those type as well. But anyway, the law of free will outlines that we can choose to be part of a group. So that reinforces that. I think life is actually about both. Well, all three, not just both. In my experiences, sometimes I will follow another person's lead. I'll listen to what they've got to say. I'll listen to their experiences, and I might allow their beliefs and perceptions to influence my own interpretation of truth. And then other times, I guess like what I'm doing today, I share this information and content that I'm considering, or conclusions that I've reached, or my experiences. I can share these with other people and potentially influence them on their paths to find the path that is right for them, if that makes sense. I hope it does. So the other aspect to reading these paragraphs is that I infer or interpret that the law is stating, or the law of free will is stating, that the capacity to draw loving thoughts and divine inspiration is determined by our personal desire to live in alignment with divine will, and which I see reflected in this paragraph as the great soul of all creation. I'll just say that's just a description. For me, creator works quite well. I'm not so confident with the second paragraph, especially with the idea that I've written this. All I can think of is that at this particular time, I was, can't think of the word, I was doing all that processing of Christ as in the biblical version of it, and the Christ light. I think I'd become aware around about that time that there is a reference to the white light, where some people, I think probably the Christians actually, or what do they call Christian theosophists, people of that demographic, that they refer to the white light as the Christ light. So that might be where this has come from, and I'm not sure that if I was to write this and publish it that I would actually put this terminology in. But anyway, this whole paragraph doesn't sit particularly comfortably with me for a number of reasons, which I'm going to go into, where it says that the Christ warns that the soul entity could become a God hater. Now, these are issues with language that I've got. As I said, there's the business of the word Christ. And then I actually feel that the entire passage leans towards the unloving side, of course, right? Unless we acknowledge that perhaps maybe it is loving, in that there are potentially some souls, I say potentially, that would decide that, this whole pathway of birth and rebirth is not for them, that the whole process of living on earth, experiencing what it's like to be a human and being reborn is just not a process that they want to do, because let's be real, it's not real easy sometimes. We can have some really extreme challenges. I know I certainly have, and they haven't all been pleasant, I might add too. Okay, so where I'm going with this is I just can't see any spirit or soul making that choice to just go, you know what, I'm done with this, I'm hanging up my boots, I'm finished with it, right? And this is because my understanding is that, without going into the whole death and dying process of transformation, my understanding is that once the body has been released, that the spirit and the soul becomes awakened to the process of life. The blinkers are off, the veils are gone. It goes to a whole new level, and people understand their part of what has been involved in some of the hardships that they experience on the earth plane. And it's this understanding and knowing that makes life easier, I believe. Now, of course, the experiences I share with you, these are my experiences, and your path may be different. So I'm going to share with you an experience about some of the really, without going into the bogged down detail of it, some of the really difficult experiences that I've had, where I can look back in hindsight and see that I have actually made choices within that, even though I didn't realise it at the time. Sometimes the decisions that we make, they're subconscious ones. And one of the situations, for example, I will draw on this, is I was reflecting on this. One of the really dark experiences of my life that was just rife with suffering, I might add. I was in a horrible working environment, and I felt that my employers had questionable intent, and every ounce of my soul being was saying, resign, get a new job. And that was my full intention, was to actually resign this workplace. But I get messages, I certainly used to get messages in my dream state a lot, and I have had over life recurring dreams at difficult points like this one. This is not the first time. I'll tell you about it in a second, but at some difficult times in my life, I've had dreams where there is a visiting guide that has arrived, and I can have a sense of humour about this, but I tell you what, if he showed up in my dreams more recently, I'd probably almost poo my pants. But anyway, this visiting guide turns up, and I can see my guides. They end up in a confab, and what was happening at this particular stage, because I think this was the first time I actually saw it happening, where they were all grouped together and everybody was deeply disturbed. The whole team was concerned about me resigning the job. And what I took home from this particular dream when I woke up was that none of them wanted me to leave. I needed to stay in this workplace for reasons that were unknown to me. And so I didn't resign the job, I stayed with it. I had a feeling at the time that had I resigned the workplace, that it was going to have negative karma consequences. Or, you see, because I couldn't, this is what I mean, Spirit gives you messages but doesn't give you the whole picture. So I woke up with this feeling that I can't resign. It's really, really important that I don't resign. I've got to stick this out. It's either a case of I'm working through negative karma, or there is some kind of positive karmic reward. Now, the delusion may have been there's a positive karmic reward there. In hindsight, I actually think I must have been working through some negative karma, actually, at the time. But my guides, what I do recall is that my guides were communicating to this other visitor that they weren't happy, actually, about me having to stay in this situation, and this other guide saying, you've got to persuade her, she's got to stay, she needs to stay. And he was stressing with the utmost importance, I must stay in that job and I couldn't leave. And that was what I woke up with. So I stayed in the job. But what I can say is that my guides, what I feel is that they knew that it was pushing me to my absolute limit. And what I can also say in hindsight is that throughout this process, because I had the understanding of energy and spirit and this kind of stuff, I was able to draw on their energy and support through that process, and I knew at all times that they were with me. They would send me messages, they would send me strength, if you like, and I always felt loved and embraced by them through this very difficult period of my life. So where I'm going with this is, I just cannot see this scenario of a soul making the decision to hang up its boots happening, because once they get to that point, I've just got to say here, I'm not getting energy from my guides or angels at this point in time as I have this conversation with you. They're not saying, yes, you're right, no, you're wrong, whatever. So I think this is a case of it's down to personal. Yeah. But anyway, I'm just going to come back to it. It's really nice to know that we have free will, okay? We have choices. And as we enter into 2024, we can use our free will. We can make a conscious choice right now today to bring in more love, more light, more understanding, more compassion, more kindness, not only into our lives and into the depths of our aura, if you like, at a cellular level. We can choose to bring this energy in and use it for the greater good of all humanity. So that's something for us all to have a little reflect on, bearing in mind we're coming into 2024 and how we might use this throughout the next 12 months. Anyway, just something to think about. You take care. You have a wonderful, blessed day. And I wish you the very best. Stay safe. See you in 2024.